the foot are staying here. Bang. All right. So yeah, thank you again for being this is a treat for me. So I'm gonna take advantage and try to learn from your experience because it's been a long time since I've practiced
Sure.
and done any of that. Moving in here, gotten busy learning how to live and work. And I was young, back then I was at 24,
Right.
25 years.
Right.
So yeah. So
Good.
do you mind giving us an introduction about yourself in the martial arts arena? How did you get your start? What's your story in the martial arts world, and specifically Jeet Kune Do? How did you land in that?
Well, first, thanks for inviting me to your podcast. I am now speaking a little bit more about my experience. In the past, it was more about just training. Everybody wants to get better, learn whatever they can to fulfill the need. I think that's probably why I even got into it in the first place. Martial arts connects with people in different aspects of their life, so it becomes an interesting journey because then you'll meet people, you'll find the some same values that some people may have, and then some people have different values. So you start to connect with different culture systems and things like that. And I think that was one of the good reasons why maybe I stuck with the martial arts as long as I have. But to train in the martial arts when I was younger, it was more about self-protection. You
Yeah,
don't have that
self-defense.
confidence.
Yeah,
That confidence walking down the street and you have people picking on you. I was one of those
I can relate to that.
loner type kids,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, I had friends, but it was more about, I guess, being at the wrong place at the wrong time, I guess you could say. And usually those were the cases and opportunities that people have taken. And for me, it was like a self-defense mechanism, like something my body told me that I needed something. And of course, through life, of course, I don't want to go into so many details, but
Yeah.
I think with parallel things happening and overlapping experiences, you tend to find martial arts as that, hey, that looks like something that could protect me. Of course, I didn't, Bruce Lee wasn't in my mind. I was looking at demonstrations, and demonstrations were the key to like unlocking all these avenues. So I felt interested. I expressed my interest with my parents. They're like, yeah, whatever. And we couldn't really do it at the time, but I ended up really diving into just magazines, books. My interest was to still train, and my father put me into kickboxing, who he connected with at his job site. So they kind of collaborated and says, hey, he asked him if he could teach me. He wasn't teaching anybody at the time, so he connected me with him, and that's when my journey started. I felt very anxious, excited, all the above. All this fear stuff coming in, like, oh, he's going to hit me.
Oh yeah, your brain start racing. That first, what am I going to expect?
Yeah.
Am I going to get hit? How do you do this?
Yeah. Well, fortunately, the first time I met him was with my cousin, because we both went together, and I didn't I didn't want to be targeted by myself, so I was going to put my cousin in place if he wanted to hit him. But we hit it off pretty well, and he started me with the first lessons, and it just continued on from there. We just started meeting Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and sometimes it would switch back and forth. But that was my beginning of the martial arts through my father, and it became a private study with him. And I think I really related to private lessons more than I did classes. I think a lot of people would like that better, but I think I just kind of favored that avenue a lot more than I did full range of classes with a lot of people.
Yeah, I can relate to that 100%. When I was a kid, the same thing, the early 80s, I was very young. I remember my uncle, I was like 7 or something, or 8. my uncle snuck me into the movie theater, me and my brother, to watch Enter the Dragon in Algeria in the early 80s.
Right.
And my world shifted like upside down. And I was like, I want to be like this guy. It's like there's certain confidence, the way he carried himself. It's not more about like, the hit. Of course, the beauty of martial arts and all these techniques, but like his character. And back then, I was a kid, living in Algeria, the neighborhoods, you're getting bullied all the time. It's a different world. There's no one to protect you. My father just passed away. So I was very, I didn't have an older brother to protect me and all that. And all cultures back then, it's like you have someone, always your cousin or something. I didn't have that. So I was fixed. I was like, I want to be like this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he walks in and he's not worried, like his attitude. And I was like, I want to develop that. Plus the kicking and punching. And back then, there was no internet, no nothing, just books. Even books were kind of scarce, magazines.
Right.
So karate was the only thing that was famous, especially in the 80s. So I remember getting into karate, but it was cool, but it didn't feel the same.
Right.
I did karate until like, I think, a brown belt or something. And then I discovered someone opened the Jeet Kune Do. They brought it. And it was like a very niche thing. I dropped everything. Everybody was like, why are you leaving? Because, I kind of established a reputation in a karate school I was in.
Oh, right.
And just before I get my black belt, and I was like, I'm done. I left and went over there.
Yeah. No, I think with the martial arts, you go back and you look at all these reasons as to why you connected to these things. And I think in your case as well, there was a role that wasn't fulfilled.
Yeah.
And so that's why we took that opportunity when we were kids. Yeah. My father is the same. I mean, I would communicate with him, but it wasn't always like a strong relationship. So I think that's why he shifted in saying, in a way, he didn't have to say it, but here, teach my son because I can't teach him.
Yeah.
So I think that was a really cool thing that I was able to start on that journey. But the Jeet Kune Do, it's interesting to hear that at the time you said in the 80s you started training it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure around that time period is very scarce. It was very scarce for me as well. I couldn't really find anything when I was a kid. But I did start watching Bruce Lee films and that charisma and that power that he had, that self-confidence and then that's what I wanted. So I started, even with my first teacher, I was looking into books that I found in bookstores, Bruce Lee fighting methods. I don't know if you've had any of those out there, but the Bruce Lee fighting methods were the interesting components to drive me in that direction. Like, oh, wow, those photographs look great. And then the Tao was obviously there as well.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't have any the money. Obviously, I was a kid. I was just kind of flipping through pages all the time, reading it, And then when I'd go back to class, I'll try to implement what what the words were saying, But it wasn't really connecting well because our structure, our foundation of power and all that didn't fit really well with feinting and things of that nature.
Yeah, actually, for me, it's like, the books in the magazine. I don't know if you're familiar with Algeria. It's even like, it's in North Africa. So things move there slow and things arrive there slow. Even books and magazines were not, in martial arts, it's not like a priority, so I don't bring that many of them.
Right.
So my big breakthrough is like, I learned by watching from TV. So the first time we were able to purchase and own a VHS player. Right. And I remember, recording, in a national TV channel, I record the movies, Bruce Lee movies, and I watch them like hundreds of times, frame by frame, and try to learn and repeat every like technique he does in the film. And that's how I kind of self-taught myself while I was doing karate. And then when I go to the dojo, I try to like do that. I remember a certain point I was trying to move like that, and my sensei, he was always like, "Oh no, what are you doing?" It's like the karate way was kind of so rigid and square. I was never. It didn't have like a fluidity that I felt with the Jeet Kune Do or the way Bruce Lee moved. And there was only one kung fu school in the area. They did kung fu wushu, I remember.
Right.
Yeah. While I was doing karate, I remember sneaking over there trying to watch how they do stuff. It kind of was it has something different, but it was a little bit too traditional and too strict as well. Or I don't know, maybe the way they taught it. You know how it is. Everybody interprets the thing the way they do
it. Yeah. Yeah. Some of the, you got to give it to the teachers that taught us in the past. Cause I've come across, being dedicated. I come across a lot of teachers, but to be fully dedicated to some, I would say about, 4 in my lifetime. But they all realized that most of us that were taking martial arts were inspired by Bruce Lee. Yeah. It's like, okay, hope this kid doesn't start dancing around right now. Yeah. I need to teach him this stuff. But that's the thing, right? It's that mobility on how you saw Bruce Lee conveyed in film that you wanted to apply, because it would always seem like the other fighter in the film would fall into a trap.
Yeah.
And that's what was interesting to me, is what happened? That's awesome.
Yeah, I think by instinct, what I discovered back then, I was young. You don't have the vocabulary to explain and express what the thing, but after experience, now I look back at it, I understood it. Back then, by instinct, I knew the beauty of what Bruce Lee was doing, and learning later, the Jeet Kune Do, what it is. It's every fighting or every, sparring combat thing, you're solving a problem as it occurs.
Right.
You look at what's happening and you come up with a solution. It's very creative.
Right.
And back then I felt that way, but when you go to those schools, they don't allow you to do that. It's you have to follow a certain formula.
Right.
And it doesn't work like this in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
When a fight happens, and I'm sure it's a situation that happens very fast and you have to think. Yeah. It's like a chess game, but at the hyper speed. You have to be creative.
And I think that's it. I think that's what drove me in the direction that I wanted to in the Jeet Kune Do. I wanted to learn that, but I didn't know how I could get to the right resources. I mean, I had the material, but it didn't really connect.
Yeah.
And I mean, the scuffles that I've had, they were really fast and they were awkward, and they were not in place. They were not in position. So for me to pull off anything.
Yeah.
So anytime I got in that scuffle, it was what just happened? It was just, you're familiar with 2 hands in front of you and a connection that you need to make with them if they were going to come at you, and it just didn't. It's never going to be the way you trained it.
Yeah.
And I've heard that a lot. But when I got into when JKD was the inspiration to everything I was trying to research, the points and principles that are behind that really relate to what your opponent is doing.
Yes.
There's a lot of self-defense aspects that also have to come in play that people have to realize, because there's several categories you have to watch for. What is it that you want to really learn? Is it self-defense, or is it tactically fighting another opponent in a match? And so you have to kind of discern from both of them what really works, what won't. And you always have to think in that manner. Otherwise, you can get overwhelmed by just thinking in the context of an opponent trying to fight you in the ring versus somebody really wanting to take your head off. So there's a big mindset shift, and you have to really understand both. And then it also can start fueling another nature of you, another part of you that maybe is asleep, that can really define what character you are. So what I mean by that is, some people, it's not a good place to be to train the self-defense, because they're just feeling their own fear. But yeah, I could get deeper, just because I've really related to how this can change you for the better, or it can make you worse.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because the beginning, the first step you take in is you take in as self-defense. But
Right.
once you get into it, you discover the artistic, what the word art, martial arts into it,
Right.
what it really means, and then slowly start dropping the self-defense thing and start exploring the other avenue because you start
Right.
realizing, oh, now I can unlock certain things that I didn't know about myself, my body, how I think, how I play the game.
Right.
Turns into a game, and
Yeah.
then once you find that line and you cross it, you can't go back, and
Yeah.
it becomes something else.
Exactly. Exactly. I think in my case, I was looking to take take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Like, how do I transcend from this to the next? And that's where the body and the mind start to come into play, and that's good. Rather than taking the avenue, I truly believe when I work with people that if I can connect with them on the basis of why they're training in the first place, then I
Yeah.
can help them. I can help them heal rather than help them learn how to fight all the time. And that's great. And I could teach people that, but is that it? I don't want to be that person that fuels the fire. So I want to have a better way of communicating with people and to create change. I can help them create change immediately. And that's power that people want to have.
That's actually a great approach, which is something that was always lacking in the classic dojo when you join. It's like
Right.
no one bothers to figure out why you're doing this.
Right.
Why are you joining this dojo? It's like, what are you trying to get out of it? Are you trying to
Yeah.
get healthy? Are you trying to just stay in shape?
Mhm.
Are you trying to defend yourself because of certain circumstances?
Right.
So you, as the mentor or the teacher, kind of have a better handle on your student
Yeah.
and give them a better result.
Yes. Yes. And I think the 80s and the 70s and the 90s, the era that we kind of experienced, I don't think that was really a thing back then. Today it's changing a little bit. Modern times have changed. Back then, those individuals that opened up schools, they were really protecting themselves as well. So they were trying to teach people, this is how you learn how to fight and you pay me. And it was very successful back then. Today, I don't think a lot of people want to spend 40 years in the martial arts.
No.
It's 2 years max, get something out of it and then move on. So what can we do to help society get better? I think
Well, yeah, it depends on the kind of person. Some of us will have an addiction. Like for me, I started martial arts at age 10, 11. I never stopped until I came here. Literally, that was my life. All I do is nerd stuff, martial arts. I'm always exercising no matter what. I remember when I was doing Jeet Kune Do, we lost our dojo. And I was lucky to be with a sensei. He was really young and cool. He was into it. And a small few collect. We didn't care. It was we spent the summer, I think, in 96 or something, the whole summer working out in the woods. There were dangerous times back then. Yes, there were some things going on in the country, but we're still we go to the woods nearby. There's this big forest on the side of the mountain, and we were working out there, punching into the trees and doing all the drills and all the, the conditioning drills just in the wood. And then we walk back home 20 minutes, a walk, to take a bus, sit there, there are certain things, or just walk. Yeah, but it was fun. And then there was kind of a camaraderie that you build around it, and you stick with it, but never stops.
Yeah. That's good. Well, I mean, so you never took it back up then, though?
No, when I moved here again, I moved, I was 24 years, but my brain was I was still 16 years old. Growing up in Algeria, it's I had to learn everything. You have to pay bills, you have to work, you have to do laundry. I kind of got overwhelmed by that, and I didn't know anybody. And I don't know if you've ever been to Texas. It's huge, and it's everything is spacious. I didn't get a chance. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to search for martial arts or look for stuff. but I was still like exercising by myself at home,
Yeah.
doing certain things. And
Well, you got something out of it.
yeah,
I think that's the main
yeah.
point. Like,
I mean, yeah, I can
keep,
always do my own workout
yeah,
routine. I still do sometimes here.
yeah, that's
Anyways, let me ask you, how did you meet Jerry Poteet and became his student? That's the
so. Yeah, going back to the rummaging of all the magazines and articles, as I searched more and more, I found his articles to be very insightful. They've seemed to have connected with the Tao and related more with the Tao, which is the Bruce Lee book. I don't know if you, and I don't know what type of audience you have, but
oh yeah, I have
oh, there you
my
go.
yeah, I have my
There you go.
copy.
So that in itself was the kicker, that allowed me to connect words. And so his information seemed to relate better. Not to say that the other articles that I've read and other students that have shared their experiences with Bruce Lee and the man weren't prevalent, but I think Jerry just connected with me very well. And it will with different people. They'll connect with different people for different reasons, like emotions kind of drive everybody, right? But with Jerry's was interesting. So I called him up. I didn't expect him to pick up the phone. He's like, "Hello."
Oh, so you seeked them out, right?
Yeah. I found his phone number, and when I called him, I was expecting like a service. I didn't know if he had a school or anything. So he picked up the phone and he just answered. I didn't know it was him. He didn't even sound like it was going to be him. It looked different on the photograph. It looked like a mean guy. So I was like, okay, better respect this guy. But he had a very soft tone. And then I asked him, I says, "Hi, I'm looking for Jerry." And he goes, "Yeah."
Speaking.
Yeah, this is me. Like, hello. Like, so I started asking him questions about, how to train. And he asked me what experience I've had. Because I think what he wanted to do is probe me whether or not I was ready to even take on the training. Yeah. And I says, "Well, I've dabbled in some training. I had a kickboxing teacher. He moved away because he had to go back home. And then I worked with other martial artists. I did this, that. And he goes, "Okay, well, what's the difference between that and what I'm doing?" So he was challenging my thoughts. I'm like, so I felt a little bit more nervous, but it allowed me to connect with him even more. Like, I want to make sure I'm satisfying his agenda and asking me these questions. So I continued to call him back. He asked me to train a couple of things that I've noticed in the magazines before meeting with him. And the first lesson, I hit it off, because he was able to adjust my abilities. Now I started getting fairly well into the fitness, into the training already. So I was able to move and keep up, but he demanded like precise, or like to say precision in strikes. Like everything had to be effective before we moved on. It wasn't like, okay, let's try a little bit of jab. And I couldn't ask him questions like, okay, what about the cross? What about the hook? Oh, okay, show me the hook. No. He would tell you, okay, slow down. Let's do it again. But this time I want it to be here. I want you to pull back, or I want you to arc at the end. And I want you to move with intent. Like he was very precise in the way he was teaching me, guiding me in that direction. Whether it was just one punch or a couple of combinations, they were very technical. So never trained that way before. It was mainly, let's do these movements and train for the next hour. No, this guy was sticking on plan just to make sure I was precise with my motions. So Jerry was my guidance. That from there on out, I was like, okay, I don't want to seek anyone else. The other martial arts were great. It brought me up to this point, but I want to learn from this guy, because as I was asking Jerry questions about other martial arts, weaponry, judo, jiu-jitsu, all these other things, and I says, "Oh, we have answers for that. We have these simplistic tools that will help you fit in with those." And I'm like, I kind of understood that, but not really, because I'm still like, well, there's so many motions, there's so many techniques that you have to fit in. So how do you fit in with that?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know if you follow up on these, because like the Jeet Kune Do, if I understand, and I'm sure you do, it wasn't intended to be like a style school that you have to like sign up for and do. You know, Bruce Lee wasn't into that. It
Right.
was supposed to be like a shell, or like a blueprint to start. It doesn't give you everything, but it shows you where to get everything, kind of a thing.
That is
And,
a beginning
yeah,
reference. Yes.
yeah, and the more I learned by myself, you know, especially going to Bruce Lee's notes and stuff, you know, back when I did Jeet Kune Do in Algeria, it was that I can remember now, that was that struggle, because they started a federation, and they started stylizing it and started doing what Bruce Lee didn't want it to be done,
Mm.
which means like giving it a name and assigning it this stuff and turning it into like this rigid box.
Right.
And my instructor he was also a nerd. He was not in for that.
Right.
We were like learning everything, doing anything. We were focusing on conditioning a lot,
Right.
and then some techniques here and there. So where do you stand on that as far as the Jeet Kune Do, what it's supposed to be versus what it's now, I guess?
But it's taken time. It's taken a lot of reflection, and it also has taken a lot of years, even since Bruce Lee passed away, with the original students maturing their understanding of what the man meant it to be. And it's taken up to a lot of years to kind of like finally fine tune an understanding. And it could always change for someone, because someone has a different experience in life and then they adjust to it. But to really look at this, you have to go back to how Bruce Lee put this together. And most people will say, well, he's never completed the art. And that was always puzzling to me. If it never completed, then why was he doing it? You know, I come to find that he was doing a lot of the things that he said and professed in the notes. It's just that these notes, this information wasn't released until a little later.
Yeah.
And so that's why a lot of the students started picking up more things along the way. And they started advancing their understanding. And because of their connection with their teacher, they were able to relate. Now, it's a little hard for me to kind of understand exactly what Bruce Lee was doing, because I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But so I had to speak to principle. So I had to speak to how things work. Otherwise, if I leverage, well, my teacher said this, it doesn't really hit the source. And as much as I respect my teacher and my teachers, because after Jerry passed away, I also sought out more guidance. You have to find out how it works and why it works. What are the components that allowed this man to do it, and what is it allowing me to do it? My framework at the time when I was training with Jerry, I was younger. I was hungry. I was like ambitious, very focused. It's like a period of your time of your life, just like a boxer that needs to fight in their prime.
Yeah.
And then once you surpass that, then you have to kind of either be a coach, or you're doing other things, or you gotta just have to do yoga or something for the rest of your life.
Yeah. It's like hang it up.
Yeah, right. So Jeet Kune Do kind of falls into that, and it's a way of fighting. It's not the only way, but it's a way. So you have a built-in system that you can express based off your framework. The template requires you to first get your body structure and everything ready to go. And whether it's through means of boxing and kickboxing, that's great. But then when you start to refine your system, which is your body, refine it with the principles that comes with, what the Jeet Kune Do is advising you to do. You start to amplify its simplistic approach. In other words, you have to start economizing the way you punch. You start to find what simplicity is. Well, what is simplicity within that context? It's you're firing, you're throwing punches. The strike is much faster than a restraint or control. So where does that belong to? Well, it belongs in the context of a fight, like a fighter versus a fighter. And it also works in self-defense. But relating it to like other martial arts, you want to have the least amount of moves and the most maximum power you can have about it. So that way you're not thinking as much. So you only have a few tools to use within those circumstances, but you have to add some finesse with what you're doing as well. You can't just go on barrage throwing punches.
Yeah.
You're striking for a reason. There's something happening. Either they're approaching you or you're approaching them, and you have to find the timing within it to apply it. The tools that I've learned when I was younger really apply to reactionary measures. So when something happened in critical range, like if something happens, somebody, I don't know, conversation, whatever, we go past that because obviously we're not going to have enough time to talk about, okay, this guy does this.
Yeah.
But let me just get straight to the point. So if you're in critical range and if I go straight in, I'm throwing strikes and I know what areas to take it. So if somebody's ready to grab me, somebody's ready to swing at me, I'm able to enter as quickly as I can to control their foundation. Now, it's not just striking, I'm controlling their base. So once their base is moved and I can change their trajectory or what motion that they're going, then at least I have an advantage. Now, all the other martial arts that you may have taken could come into play because you're looking at a timing approach. So there's space, and then once you close, that's when other things kick in, whether you're moving them, you're controlling them, you're restraining them, you're throwing them, and then that's it, right? Other things around like weaponry, okay, you could take another martial art if you like. You could do another thing around that area, but then you're now taking it to another level. Like,
Yeah.
it's another lifestyle.
Yeah, that's. I guess Jeet Kune Do is mostly concerned by like realistic situation and the most common stuff, right?
Yeah.
And fortunately, there are videos and interviews of Bruce Lee, and he said it like out loud,
Right.
pretty simple, and also some of his writing. So it doesn't take a genius to understand probably the essence of it.
Right.
Like learn from everything, but don't stick to one thing.
Right.
Pretty much, right? And also develop your own personal creativity. It's like all these two things are very foundational to Jeet Kune Do. You have to be creative. You're not discounted out of adding into it.
Right.
You have to get to a level where like there's a simple punch, one straightforward punch coming at you. You have to get to the mindset and start to think, there are a million ways I can go about this. How can I get creative and do something to this? There's no one way, but there's many ways. There's also your own way. Maybe you can see an angle how to handle that one simple punch coming at you that nobody else did. Should you pursue it? Yes. And that is also backed by many years of you conditioning yourself, and getting your body, your gears ready. It's like a car, keeping it in shape and then going to a race.
Right.
Something like that.
Well, also too, in that car or in that vehicle, you don't want the old engine or anything. You need like great parts that will nullify the rest of the vehicles out there. Just like the weaponry that we're using has a high probability of the success rate. I'm not going to tell you absolutions like, okay, this is always going to be successful. But as long as your aptitude, your understanding, your mental awareness is there, then yeah, you could pull it off. You have a high percentage of a success rate by using these certain tools. So why work on a parry so often when the hit could be the answer? Now the parry is a progression, but you could replace it with those attacks. So then you raise your efficiency level. So yeah, there's variables in it, obviously, but that's why that, we're able to think, we're able to be creative in what we do because we have these variables. But also being creative within your your body structure. I think that's the key point that I try to tell people is that, see, look, my teacher was taller than I was. I'm sure Bruce Lee was at a different frame.
Yeah.
And obviously myself, I've always felt that my arms are shorter than everybody else's. So I have to take different things like, okay, so then if everybody's telling me to punch the same way, be very fast, do I have to compensate it with speed? Do I have to be faster because now I can't gain that reach? That, this is one area that I was looking at. But come to find out that it all has to do with timing. So then the question would be, is Jeet Kune Do a form art? Is it a style? Is it a system? Or is it a system of timing? So that would be a question that most people need to answer themselves, because I don't know how much research you have, but the JKD, as you pulled out the book, it's in the public sphere. So it's like you're in a world with so many different ideas. And since the man passed, they've already created foundations, belief systems, customs, and who's to tell anybody what to do? I mean, you can't.
Oh, yeah.
You can't say, your system now doesn't work. They've created a system out of those customs and beliefs. So now we have to just come and fine tune and align to something relatable, which is, one of the essence behind the notes is the 5 ways of attack. Yep. So if people can kind of go to that and we have a conversation, then maybe people can start realizing, what is it? What is it that makes this work?
Like, do you think there is a difference between how Jerry Poteet is doing things versus how Dan Inosanto is doing things?
Absolutely. Everybody has.
Have you met Dan Inosanto before?
I met him years ago. He had a different way of doing things. And at the time, I couldn't really make a complete, assessment at the time, because I was still learning.
Yeah.
Today, if I go back and reflect, I mean, I could see what Dan's approach was to try to get you to fulfill something that maybe you would like. I think that's probably how he would do it. But I'm sure Dan has some methods and some skill development and progressions. There's only so much time in my life, right? Am I going to learn either from him or am I going to learn from Jerry?
Oh, yeah.
So Jerry actually was the guy that connected me to the things I wanted.
Yeah, because you see also Dan Inosanto has a lot of interviews out there, and he can kind of say the same thing. Find what works, whatever, you can get it.
That's usually the case, yeah.
That's usually the case. That's true.
But you notice that, though, that's kind of like the way society works, is that we are creatures of habit. We want the easiest thing. Let me take that back, rephrase the way I say it. We, in this culture, we can get things that we want, basically, based off of our resources. Okay, do we want that today? Maybe I'll try that. A little bit of this, or we'll go out to dinner somewhere else. You can't ever go to the same thing because we're able to choose, and I think that's great. I think we living in the U.S., we have the ability to choose, and but I think in the old days, you really think about instructors. Yeah, they won't show you stuff unless you stay with them or work with them or at least treat them with respect. That's how it works.
That's funny you say that. Yeah, that was like the common theme, growing up in the 80s. That was like, because I think back then that was the trend with the movies and all that stuff. It became like, that's the hottest thing ever.
Right.
And there was a lot of that culture. It's like us versus them, hide the secrets. You have to stick around for too long. You have to do that. There was so much of that. And I think that was so, if I may say, used to piss me off a lot as a young man. Back then I wanted to learn stuff. So I started to be like, you know what? if these people are doing this guy's saying this, and you have to like read this, I'm just going to invent my own stuff. That's why I kind of like connected so much with Jeet Kune Do. Is like, you know what? If somebody's going to throw a punch at me, I'm going to do the most unexpected thing to counter that. And
There
then I
you go.
started to come out with the most ridiculous ways that no one expects. Like I remember, when we do, like, you know, when we used to do competitions and all this stuff, when we go in fights, you know, our fight, the 3-minute long fights is like, and I was like, this is my chance to just experiment with all this stuff. If you do these techniques learned at school, I'm going to do the most unexpected thing.
There you go.
You're gonna throw a hook at me. I'm not gonna evade or something. I'm gonna use my fast leg and just kick you right in the forearm, midair, or do something weird, you know, things like that. So like breaking tiny rules within the rules, and you got yelled at a lot.
No, that's a good way of looking at it, though, because if you change the dynamics and the perception, I think that's key. People, in some cases, don't know how to do that. It's just coming to realize, like, oh, if I don't have to follow this guideline, if I change it and I use it to my advantage, why not?
Yeah, you know, playing on the expectations, especially back then, on like, you know, the tournament circles and all that stuff. It's like everything was so disciplined, like the rules. Do this, do that. At least in Algeria, I don't know everywhere else, but that was it. Just like, you know, it was all hammered in. So for you to come out swinging like this weird guy, just like, you know, what Bruce Lee was doing in his time, I guess, he came out and started teaching different people, different races, weird stuff. So doing that in the 80s was, and then you get a kick out of it. And it was like, all right, I get yelled at or whatever, but still. You know? Even in Jeet Kune Do, when they did the federation, they started doing tournaments and we go in fights. It just, you know, stuck with me. It was like, okay, now I'm doing Jeet Kune Do, so I'll just do whatever I want. You know, I was fast. I had long legs, so I'm going to do things that.
Well, good. At least you were able to break away from, you know, tradition.
Until you get disqualified and they kick you out.
Right. Well, good. Well, I think with the Jeet Kune Do, my time with the competitive stuff was on the early ages, as I was kind of building my own family and I was starting to work and create my profession. And then I started driving more into teaching people and structurally putting my system together to help people get to a point. Yes. How do you learn this? How do you get started? And how do you, always questioning this, how do you consolidate the time that I could teach somebody that I didn't have to go through? You know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to, tell somebody they have to spend as much time as I did. Like, there's ways to help improve it. Like, I'm always trying to refine it and help people get there much faster than I could get there.
That's great. Actually, that I came across your documentary that you did on YouTube. Yeah, I want to thank you for doing that, because I accidentally came across it, kind of like reignited the passion. I was like, wow, somebody else over there. It's just like a guy doing the Jeet Kune Do stuff, but doing this documentary and interviewing all these cool people and bringing back all that stuff. I kind of like binge watched all the stuff in your channel, and I was like,
oh, great.
Because I never, even in YouTube, there wasn't like someone doing Jeet Kune Do the way you're doing it and all that. So that documentary was really, I think you have 2 different documentaries in there. I enjoyed those 2 a lot.
Oh, I'm happy you did. I didn't know what kind of response I would have gotten, because that was my passion. I studied some film when I was younger, and I never had a chance to get into the film industry, and I wanted to. But of course, careers kind of change and directions. But I came back to it after COVID, and I'm like, okay, let me try this out. I'm really interested in doing documentaries, and I was playing around with a few, and then I says, well, let me create one that has to do with my connection to the Jeet Kune Do and where I'm taking it. And of course, if I would have spent more time, I would have added a lot more in there. But I was like, okay, this is driving me a little nuts. Let me finish this off. So yeah, purpose was to show people that you have to transcend. You have to get to the next stage. And I would like to continue that. But right now I'm taking a more hiatus from that and going right back to the JKD.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come back to it. I like to create more. I like to get more
Well,
involved in that.
since you said that, I guess things that we have in common keep growing because I'm also kind of a filmmaker somewhat. I made movies, short
Beautiful.
films. Yes, yeah, I'll share with you things
Yes,
so you
please.
can check them out. And if you're ever here in Dallas, I was gonna ask, are you gonna do seminar here in Dallas? Since now I exist here in Dallas. Hook me up. Come and do something here.
Well, we might connect on another level if you're into the
Yeah.
film stuff. So let's reconnect and we can definitely talk about it. I don't have anyone in Texas at the moment to host me, but I just recently did one in New York, which is a collaborative event, which has turned out really well. And I'm heading to Japan here next week.
Yeah, I saw the flyer and I was like, how I wish to go and participate.
Yeah.
I saw you did one in Berlin, I think, and in Italy.
Frankfurt, yeah, and
Yeah.
then Italy, yes.
Yeah.
So I'm going around a little bit. The tour, it feels like a tour. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, now I'm leaving again. I'm like, what's going on here? But I want to come right back to the documentaries, which is something I'm passionately about. But yeah, let's do that. Let me see your work, and I love to see what you got.
Yeah, I'll show you. If you need anything, just buzz. I love doing this stuff just for the heck of doing it. I mean, I do a lot of things there around, so I'm kind of
That's
a
awesome.
nerd in that aspect. But yeah, I would love if you do a seminar here in Texas or somewhere near the area, so I can attend. Yeah, like now I'm older and kids' life is kind of like
Yeah, I
weird.
understand that.
So
Yeah.
it's hard for me to. They are a little growing up, so I'm about to get to a stage where I can finally move stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I would love to travel. Like when I saw the one you're doing for Japan, and I was like, man, how I wish to just get to go.
Yeah, I was recently with someone here. One of my clients, he's from California, and he goes, "When are you doing that other seminar?" And I go, "It's in Tokyo. It's about 10 hours away. Why, do you want to go?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm going to book my ticket tonight." We're like, you could just book another session with me here. It's like, no, I want to go to Tokyo. So, but yeah, it's just one of those passionate drivers that people want to do or accomplish, at least be out and about, train in the martial art that they're really passionate about, and just connect, So yeah, we'll stay there for about a week and then I'll come back. But yeah, coming back to the documentary, I'm looking to do a little more on that level. There's other aspects that people are doing, like, training with other martial artists, things like that. I like to connect with people on a more deeper level, like, why are they here? Why are they doing this, and why are they teaching it? Like that's more important to me than like, show me the next move.
Oh yeah, no, you know what? That's actually amazing. Yeah, everybody does the expected thing. It's like, show me the next kick. Show me the most beautiful thing. Which after you do it, and you'd be like, okay, you see it in the movies, and then you do it, and you'll be like, you get the satisfaction. And then as you mature, you start to understand, which fortunately I learned, and I came to those realizations. Certain things don't work in real life.
Right.
And I became to dial it down that I'm more interested into realistic stuff. How can I do martial arts realistically versus aesthetically?
Yeah.
Especially after you do those aesthetic things. In the beginning, because they are far away, and you'll be like, oh, this is an amazing kick or spin or all that stuff. But once you conquer it, and you'll be like, I could do that.
Yeah.
Then you start to, you know what, that's not going to work in real life. And that's why I always tell, like, people, friends who are asking me, family, oh, you show me this, I do this. And they'll be like, but don't do that in real life. And I'll be like, what? Yeah, because it doesn't work. And let me show you why it doesn't work. And then demonstrate. In real life, if you do that to me, you're gone before you finish it.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And that's very important that you say that people that are teaching the martial arts, they put a mask on, and I think one of the reasons why I did that documentary was to show them who I really was in that sense. And I want to see that from people. I want to see the real them. And because that mask, they could put it on they want, but the truth of the matter is that they need to really dive into that full aspect of who they really are. And I want to get into that. And so, like you said there, really hit the nail on the coffin there, because the same thing with the Jeet Kune Do, show you why it doesn't work, and you're proving it to them. That's an important piece. I think a lot of people need to go through in the martial arts as well. And that's just not JKD. That's everything.
Oh yeah, that's
everything.
that's a universal rule for everything.
Yeah.
In karate, certain things or work when you demonstrate them, it looks cool, but
right.
as you gain experience, you start to know how to spot what doesn't work.
Right.
Or at least you start to become smart enough to say, okay, it looks cool, but how can I dial it down to a realistic version if something happens?
Right.
Or like just say even in a tournament, not even like a street fight, because street fights are even faster and they have a different illusion to them. But like tournament, you go, you watch, you spend years in a dojo and you do certain things, and then you go do a tournament and you have a tournament fight, 3 minutes, which feels like 3 hours. You'll be like, okay,
right.
you learned that first lesson. Second one, everything you learned, you're doing against someone who's doing the same thing as you, and you both know the same material. Doesn't work, or it doesn't look like it's supposed to.
Right.
Has anybody ever wondered that?
Right.
You see it, and I'm pretty sure you saw enough of it.
Yeah, and that's really relatable. You teach someone something. Okay, so going back to this, for example, I'll give a lesson and I'll say, okay, let's do this punch, let's do this kick, and then after they're, especially if they've already gone through some sort of educational background, if they've had some experience, then I can ask them these questions. But if somebody's brand new, it's a different story. You have to kind of bring in those subtle questions, through the training. But you give them some things to think about, like, okay, now would you do this in this range? Now you start to open up their mind. Would you do this in this range? Because, right now you're just hitting a focus mitt, but now I'm standing in front of you. Would you do it in this range? I'm like, no. And I go, why? Well, I'm a bit too far away. I can't reach you. Okay, great. Then how do you reach me? So then you start to connect reasons why they're doing it. Yeah. So rather than saying, okay, this will work 100% of the time, and it won't. You have to show them. You hear the expression, do your own research. No. It's not go out and do your own research. It's to research your frame, your perception, your visual stimulus, all that stuff. So that way you understand what's going to work for you, not what's going to work for you, like in the sense of other styles. It's what's going to work with you in that context.
And the other layer to that, like, one of the benefits of doing tournaments, you learn stuff, you rehearse, you're doing in the dojo with your friends or your master. When you go to a tournament, the real world opens up. Now you're surprised by opponents that you don't know. A short guy, a chubby guy, a tall guy, or you're tall and he's short. You get into these awkward combinations, and they are skilled as much as you. How would you apply the technique? I can't punch like this short guy punches. The short guy adjusts his punch because he has to account for, you're higher, his arms are short. I'm longer. It's awkward. If I'm too close, it's not going to land. You start to do the math. And then the real world start to be like, okay, the techniques you thought was going to work, it doesn't work. So what you going to do, buddy? How are we going to solve this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Oh, good points. Good points.
Yeah.
This is an interesting conversation. I'm glad you brought those up and your
Well,
experience in the.
because I got hit
Yeah,
by them. I got hit by them.
yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Usually, what takes,
I have
right?
stories. I got hit a lot by those. That's how
That's
you
what it
learn.
usually takes to kind of open your eyes, is to kind of humble you a little bit, like you got
Yeah.
hit. But yeah, I understand.
Yeah, one of my worst ones, I fought a guy who was short, but he was a boxer. And he was amazing, like boxer posture, fast. And I'm kind of tall. 3 minutes felt like forever. I had to keep him at bay. I didn't care about scoring or hitting him. I had to keep him far away. Used my long legs to my advantage to just kick him out, and they're just running out the clock. Because if he catches me one of his hooks, he was fast and stuff.
Right.
I was fast too, but it was an awkward position. He's short and he's closed off, and
Yeah.
I'm long, and yeah, that was. And you learn. You'll be like, you know what? I guess this is what martial art is about. I survived the 3 minutes, so I achieved my goal. I didn't land some successful hits, maybe one, but I survived. So
yeah, absolutely. And you've taken that, and it's not like. Let me ask you this, because now that it's 25 years later, do you feel like you need that? Do you need to do that again?
Not really. I mean, I will enjoy sparring and having fun with someone. Let's say if it were me and you together in the room, the workout part of it was
like a workout piece. Yeah,
I enjoy that, but I wouldn't. I have my workout routine now here. It's like I build my little kind of tiny dojo. I got like the bar thingy. I like to do the freehand stuff. I have a punching bag, so I have my routine to keep me in shape. But that's it. It's like I got the joy out of that. Stay calibrated, and that's it.
And that's the point, right? I mean, we all have to just get to the point where, can you maintain your body? Can you know, are you eating healthy? Are you getting the aspects of your life fulfilled, your family, your wealth, your business, all that stuff? Is it maintaining, and is it purposeful? And that's what's important. Like,
I even got my kids into it, like my daughter.
That's it.
You know, I tried to teach her the nunchucks, tried to teach her the kicks, tried to teach her the positions, chi sao, you know, a little bit. It was like, you know, we used to do it for warm up. So like, hey, let's do this. Trying to get her to understand what we're doing.
Yeah.
And, you know, stuff like that.
That's fun. That's fun. And interesting you brought up chi sao. So yeah, Algeria, you're saying back in the 80s and 90s, and they got in that training. I wonder who they got it from. I'm
so
curious.
I have, so I can tell you a little bit what I know. When they opened, there was a dojo. It was like the only dojo, I guess, in the city where I live.
Yeah.
It was this underground basement under this apartment building. And the guy there rents it to a different martial arts. So that's schedules like we do. And then we leave, and the judo people come and do. And I think this guy came and did the Jeet Kune Do and started it new. And I was like, oh. And then I was like, yeah, that's what I heard. You know, back then it's like rumors. Oh, Bruce Lee style, he did this. I didn't know much. And then I joined that. And then it turns out that they started a federation. And this guy, who was a bodyguard of, what's his name? That Palestinian Yasser Arafat. I don't know if you know him. He's like
yeah. Okay.
His bodyguard was doing it, learned it somewhere, I guess, in America, and then they used to come to Algeria a lot because they were like supporter of that thing.
Very cool. Very cool.
So he brought that style in there. He taught a bunch of people, opened like kind of a side school, and then from it came the guy who was my teacher, and then others. And then they started all these, there were like 3 schools. The one I was in, one in a different neighborhood, and then the one in a third neighborhood, which has like the headquarters, HQ. And then they started doing tournaments and stuff and doing all these things. But I worked exactly with this guy for like the whole time.
That's a great story, because that's very rare in that time frame. Today, I mean, you can open up the phone and you see everybody doing something. But
it was a very out of the blue,
Yeah,
and nobody knew
great.
what it was. In the beginnings, like everybody knew I was doing karate. Everybody knows karate. It was like, and then when I
Yeah.
started telling them doing this Jeet Kune Do, it's like they didn't know what it is. They say, "Is it kung fu?" And I was like, "No, it's
Yeah.
kind of kung fu, but." So I had to come up with some explanation. It's kind of kung fu. And then I
Right.
would tell them, it's what Bruce Lee does. And they'll be like, oh, yeah. Because they see it in the
Yes.
movie. I'm pretty sure in their heads they think it's kung fu, because they see the traditional clothes he wears and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Today, I still have to reference because people will ask me, if I come across somebody and we're meeting, and I hear you do a little bit of martial arts. What type of style is it? I go, it's because I get this all the time. I go, it's Jeet Kune Do, and then go, huh? They do that take, and then I go, okay, Bruce Lee style. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
You know what? It's funny.
they
It's
put Bruce Lee
still
right in front of
not
them.
a common, even with the age of the
Yeah,
internet. In the real world, like if I go out in the street, you still have to explain a
yeah,
lot. It's,
right.
it's not like, hey, I know what that is.
Yeah, so yeah, I've changed the way I've talked about it because I've introduced a new program called Way of the Martial Athlete or the Martial Athlete. So it's more about athletics and self-confidence and development of martial power. And most people understand that. If I give them that name, they're like, what? They don't know what to connect it with. Sometimes some people said, is that a restaurant? Is it like, no, it's never mind. Bruce Lee? Yeah. Okay. His system. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. And then the conversation starts.
It's funny. It's a lot of people still don't know that Bruce Lee, made something
Right.
or made a contribution that
Yeah.
led to something.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
they think he was just an actor or something.
Right.
Have you ever met his daughter? She's still
Yes.
around.
On several occasions.
Shannon Lee. Yeah.
Shannon. Yes. On several occasions. I met her first in Seattle when I was asked to fulfill a role that Jerry could not. And, I stood in for him to kind of teach and represent or whatever that case was at the time. But it was interesting because she was very occupied. So was her mother. They did this. When they do these events, there's so many people coming to them. You realize, like, oh, your father was a big inspiration to me. But when I connected with her, she says, yeah, I know who you are. And I'm like, oh, great. Look, how's Jerry? And I go, oh, Jerry's great. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for, inviting us to do this. But she's taken on a different role.
Oh, yeah.
The state,
I
as you
follow
noticed.
her work in the internet. You should have her for an interview, I guess. If you do another documentary, that would be
I would love to. I think it's just connecting to the right agents, who she's connected with, because I think she's established something now where I understand she wants to express her father's work, and she's doing a great job.
Oh yeah, I follow her. It's amazing, and I was like, finally, so at least someone from the family is kind of like keeping up with this,
right?
But I also should. I mean, probably you'll be the one who can do that. Do it, and if you do a documentary, you should interview what's his name, the Dan Inosanto. He's getting much older, and you'll be the right person to talk to him because I've seen a lot of his interviews. He's been talked to by journalists and stuff.
Right.
They do what they can, but I think it will be interesting for preservation of knowledge or something that you will talk to him, and you'll have that kind of conversation, and it will preserve some information, I guess, coming from.
I would love to. I think many of them, and even Linda has done so many that I think at this time they're just steering away from interviews because I think they've done enough.
Yeah,
but I'll give it a try. And
but Danny Inosanto, you should. I mean, that's a very specific one. I think you should have that interview with him.
I'll give it a try. If you find out how, let me know.
That's why I'm coming to you for it. I thought maybe you know someone who knows someone.
I do know someone someone, but maybe that someone could probably help push it a little bit more.
Because, you know,
But
two
yeah,
people practicing the same thing and learning the same thing will talk about it differently than when some random journalist is talking to you about it, you know.
yeah,
At
yeah. I would
least,
love to.
yeah. For
I
the
tried
rest
to.
of us.
I definitely tried to stay on a neutral level. I know I had certain teachers, but you know, Bruce Lee students are now like libraries that left a lot of information behind,
Yeah.
and you could still collect information, read that information, relate to what you like, and then support
Yeah.
the reference. I just that when people ask me on how to perform this, I'll start asking them the questions because I just want to know where they want to go with it. Like, how far do you want to go with this? Or are you looking for just historical aspects?
Yeah.
Sometimes people will just look
Knowledge.
at that. All right.
Knowledge base. Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. Octavio, thank you very much, my friend. I don't want to hold you up too long. I know you have a
Thank you.
schedule. But it was really awesome to talk to someone who is Jeet Kune Do related.
No, it was great to meet you and that
Yeah.
you're also involved in this film industry or independent film industry. And let's connect. I'd love to hear more about your work.
100%. I want to make a documentary about you.
Well, let's see
about
what
your
happens.
teaching ways and
You got it.
hang out in your dojo.
You got it. Thanks for the interview, man. And
no problem. I hope this is not the last one.
No,
We'll
not
keep
at all.
in touch.
Yeah, stay healthy.
You too, brother. Thank you very much.
Take
Cheers.
care.